Well, look, Ciara, I'm very pleased to have an opportunity this evening to confirm details of some of the budget for the Department of Further and Higher Education, Research, Innovation and Science for the coming year. Firstly, can I say cost should never be a barrier when it comes to education. It should never be a barrier to someone reaching their full potential. It should never be a barrier to someone pursuing their goals and getting to where they want to in life. And what we're trying to do in this budget is we're trying to, yet again, remove barriers, break down barriers, and make further and higher education more accessible for more people and in more ways than ever before. So this is a budget which supports young people, it supports their families, and it supports people trying to get back into education and supports people through education and through training. It's a budget that recognises that education is a driver in innovation, it's a driver in skills development, it's a tool that can break intergenerational poverty and help each of us reach our full potential. While we know inflation might be falling, we also know that students, parents, families are still facing the weekly shopping bill that's too high or rental costs that can have an impact on their achievements in third level education. One of my priorities when I entered this budget process was to ensure that students and their families can benefit from financial support to help them with the cost of third level education. And I'm really pleased to confirm free fees eligible third level students will receive, yet again, a €1,000 reduction in the student contribution fee. I know the difference this made to people last year. I met those people. I met the parents who told me getting the €1,000 back before Christmas, getting €2,000 perhaps if you had 2 children in college at the same time, made a real and meaningful difference to them. It also means that actually this year, people with a household income below €100,000 will actually see their fees halved. They'll actually see their fees reduced to €1,500 because they get the €1,000 off and they can also get the €500 credit off from the SUSI system as well. In addition to this, all student grants will increase from January. None of this waiting till September that we've had in previous years when it comes to student grants, trying to bring it forward to January. And the grants will increase by up to €615 over the course of the year and €342 this academic year between January and May. Importantly, and I'm really pleased we could get this over the line this year, postgraduate maintenance grants will return on a similar basis to undergraduates for the first time in this country since the economic crash, putting up to €2,384 back in the pockets of our postgraduate students. Since I became Minister, I've taken numerous measures to increase student grants and try and reform the system. Going forward, it's clear to me that the student grant scheme requires an overhaul, requires reform and may indeed require legislative change, and exploring these options is something I intend to do during the course of 2024. We will also be taking 2 measures to reform the education system in 2024 because for the first time ever, the student grant scheme will be extended to part-time students. And I genuinely believe this has the potential to be seismic in terms of opening up opportunities for people. We cannot tell people, study full-time if that person is perhaps a single parent, perhaps trying to hold down a job, pay the mortgage, pay the rent, raise a child, raise many children, care for a parent. They can't pack their bags and head off to university for 4 years, but they've every right to be able to access an education just like others. Every right. What about the person with a disability who wants to do a degree? But for them, in some circumstances, it might work for them to do the degree online. Might work for them to do the degree over a longer period of time. Maybe, perhaps. Why should we tell them? Well, we won't help you with the fees at all unless you go and do it full time. So from September, for the first time ever, part-time and online and blended education will be included as part of the Free Fees Initiative. And if you have a household income of €55,924 or less, those fees will be paid for you. In addition to this, in general, when it comes to full-time education also, all registration fees will be abolished from September for any eligible student with a household income of less than €55,924. 2 practical measures that we can take. I also want to acknowledge the changes that my colleague, the Minister for Finance, brought in terms of digs and the rent-a-room tax credit, making sure that if you're a parent now paying the rent for your child in college, that you can now claim the renter's tax credit. That means you'll be able to claim the renter's tax credit next year of €750, but better than that, if your student child was in digs or rent-a-room in the previous years, you'll be able to backdate it for the €500 for 23 and the €500 for 22 as well. That's a significant amount of rent we can put back in the pockets of parents or college students during the course of next year. Very pleased we've been able to deliver a significant increase in core funding for higher education. Between now and into 2024, there will be a €194 million increase in higher education funding. This will include €60 million in core funding, €35 million in core for pay, €56 million for pension deficits and demographics. This means that the government has now paid down over €100 million of the €307 million deficit found in institutions by the Indicon and European Commission report in recent years. We also have money to expand the number of tertiary degrees available outside the CAO system, where we assess your suitability based on your passion, your heart, your soul, the difference you want to make, the interview you do, rather than the points you got in your Leaving Cert, and we'll expand those courses as well. Pleased that we're investing in apprenticeships, with €65 million allocated for this sector, and there will also be additional supports for underrepresented groups in the apprenticeship population. Tomorrow I'll provide details in terms of how we intend to better support our PhD students, PhD researchers rather, around their stipend. Overall, my department's budget has now increased to over €4 billion, a 5% increase on last year, and I believe this shows the government's commitment to third-level education, to research and innovation. And I'm also pleased to confirm to the House that we have secured funding to make an application to join CERN, the European Organisation for Nuclear Research, and indeed to appoint a Chief Scientific Advisor for Ireland as well. Ciarán, before I finish, and hand over to Minister Smith, I do want to reference the alternative budget put forward by Sinn Féin last week, because Sinn Féin marched with students. They marched with students last week. They followed up with a protest to the PhD researchers. They were there, their banners were there, they used the megaphone, they accused the government of failing students. You can only imagine my shock, let alone the shock of students and parents, when they read the alternative budget. No reduction in the student contribution fee this year. The students and their parents can wait till next September. Only €40 million of extra money into the universities, not the 60 million we did. And not even a mention about the PhD researchers. No increases in student grants until next September. We're increasing the grants from January, we're cutting the fees from now, we're increasing the stipends next year, we're putting in more to core education. That's what you do. Megaphone politics, it doesn't butter the parsnips, it doesn't feed the students, it doesn't feed the families, and it doesn't help our education system.